Since I told a story about comic books and superheroes and superpowers, I had this crazy idea to, instead of reading the bios of every person that's gonna come to tell you a story, because you can read the bios at home, you can read everything about them. I want you to find out about them through the stories instead of through the bio. I think we're gonna have to be holding this microphone here. Okay, we just have to be careful with the microphone as you come up and speak on the mic. Yes, I want you to find out about them through the stories instead of through the bio. So I asked them a question, and the question was, if you had a superpower, what that superpower would be and why? So our first teller of the night, Casey, she said that her superpower would be to be able to talk to her dog. And I asked, you mean every animal out there? She's like, no, yes, my dog. And as a dog owner of 2 rescue dogs, I completely understand, and I don't need to even know why. Please give a round of applause to Casey.
Hi. All right, it is a little nerve-wracking to be the first person to go. I am going to say that for a second time. Yeah. I want to start just by saying Literacy Works rules. So let's give a round of applause. I came to know Literacy Work through one of the best people on the planet of Earth, Melanie Sampson, the director of the Clear Language Lab, and have met many members of the team over the years. And I think their work is pretty revolutionary. Literacy is power. Access to language and information is power. And all of that feels pretty important right now. Okay, I got a book. The year is 2003. I am a freshly minted supervisor in a housing program for young people experiencing homelessness here in Chicago. I am in my 20s, my young 20s, because I'm very young. I got invited to sit in on my very first meeting with a foundation. This is a big deal. If you work in my nonprofit, not everybody gets to talk to the foundation people, right? So I got my best jeans on, my nice jeans, my Kohl's blazer. I'm ready. I was super pumped. So proud of our young people, what they have been doing. I was really proud of our work. I had prepared my list of the things I thought we were going to need for the year to come, right? I was ready. It's my first meeting. These people walked in, and they were terrifying. They were arrogant, they were condescending, they were patronizing, they grilled me with questions. Why weren't we serving more people? Why were we asking for more money for CTA passes for young people? Aren't they working? Can't they buy their own CTA passes? Why do you want more money for food, right? Why are we giving people extensions to a time-limited housing program, right? My favorite detail, I swear to you, I am not making this up, is one of them actually had a housing is a human right pin on her bag. Okay? I froze. I totally froze, right? I'm in my young 20s. This is my first meeting. I stammered. I screwed up all my answers. I blew it. I felt like I blew it. The minute they walked out, I ran to the bathroom, and I cried like we do, right? It is, not a unique social worker origin story to cry in your workplace bathroom, okay? To be fair, this was a little different, though. I cried because people who came in the door saying, call us your partners, not your funder, had humiliated me. And I cried because I thought I had just really blew it and that we were going to lose a whole bunch of money for some young people who really needed it. And when that happened, it was something I wouldn't totally make sense of or have language for or context for until about 10 years later. When a friend emailed me some PDF copies of 5 chapters from the book, The Revolution Will Not Be Funded. Here. They had to email me these PDFs because it was actually hard to get for a while. It was out of print for a few years. And also that feels like very Literacy Works to me, like people being like, we will get you books no matter what. By the time I had read these chapters years later, I had been through countless more of those meetings, many of them much, much worse, right? I had watched some of the most brilliant youth workers I have ever known collapse under the weight of the work. I had watched entire programs disappear in 24 hours when somebody pulled funding. I had watched young people leave housing programs, become homeless again, and blame themselves as if they had failed, as if having to survive through impossible conditions was somehow their fault. This book answers a bunch of questions, but importantly for me, it asked, what happens when movements for justice become dependent on the very systems that are at the root of the problem, at the root of suffering? And it changed my life. This book for me was one that once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. It is the idea that so many other people have called out through history that the system isn't broken, right? We've heard it was built this way. It explained a world that I was a part of for over a decade at that time, and it made sense of so many things that had happened for me. And it was information I wasn't getting in any classroom. Certainly my boss was. It wasn't at a professional development training, right? Like I wasn't getting this stuff. I had been on my own delving into a range of anti-capitalist thinkers, Marxism. This is the first time when I read this book that I actually saw nonprofits on the game board. It was the full game board. And I could see how I and the work that I had been doing was being used to maintain the system that was harming so many. Funders love to talk to you and ask you questions like, what's your theory of change, right? And then you say, if this, then that, right? Now, every time a foundation asks me, Casey, what is your theory of change? Sometimes I visualize punching them in the face. And then I say things like, if a few people did not hoard money in housing, then many, many more people would have money and housing, right? You should see my logic models. They're like, input, housing. Output, provided housing. Outcome, housed, right? Okay. They're great. Okay, to be clear, our work at Light Collective, which is where I work, is not ending homelessness. In fact, funders also ask that question to me all the time. How are you ending homelessness? And I now simply say, I am not. I am not doing that, right? Only political change can do that. We are just trying, at Light, I think our work is critical, we are trying to keep a few young people alive, to reduce some suffering and to bring some joy into their lives, while we work to organize, hopefully many people in this room, to demand the change that will actually end it. I think this book, I'm thinking about this book a lot right now. We're living through a time where cruelty is being marketed as policy, people being kidnapped off our streets, babies held in cages, where education, healthcare, housing, our bodies, all of it under attack. We need urgent political change. And this requires resources, massive resources. And this book, in this moment, again, is helping me to know that we must stay clear-sighted and committed only to one another as we secure those resources and we make that happen. I think that's what tonight is all about. This is community coming together, right? And saying, we believe that education and access to information is a basic right for all people. We support it with fundamentally, without strings, right? Nobody has to send us a report tomorrow on what happened, that we believe in it. We believe in literacy works. We trust them to do the work, right? But I hope that most of us also believe in building a world where literacy works doesn't have to have a Saturday night spent fundraising. A world where literacy, education, housing, healthcare are no longer charitable projects, they are public commitments. Because there is a world where that happens, right? There is a world where we can all just come to a bar in Skokie on a random Saturday night, meet some very cool people, and talk about books that changed our lives. And we can do that just and only because it's a very awesome thing to do. I want that world for us. Thank you.